Yogesh already mentioned to you, my talk is divided into two parts. So the first part, he requested me to talk about computational biology. Uh, so that's why I have placed my talk in such a way so that first I'll introduce you to the computational biology, and then I'll talk about some of the work what my students they used to pursue in my lab. Um, so coming to the title computational biology, so we need to understand the importance of computational biology. So if I'll ask you, do you know that which is the biggest project or where the whole world has invested highest amount of money until now? In which kind of research? If I'll ask you this question, maybe I know that maybe you are muted by the organizer. Let me answer. What you might be thinking. You must be thinking that yes, maybe different kind of cancer research, diabetic research, or somebody will say maybe COVID. Many answer will come from the audience. But if you look at the history of where the whole world has invested highest amount of money, you will find that the first biggest project was Human Genome Project. Okay, and that was the highest. As you know, that the importance of genome sequence, and that time the scientists, they thought that okay, we need to bring some revolution in this domain of genome sequencing. If we can understand the gene sequence, most probably we can solve many healthcare problems, and that's why that time they realized that we need to take lead in this kind of project, and the whole world, not only in US but the whole world has invested money on that. And after that, if you look at, if you ask yourself, then which is the next project, biggest project? And again, you'll be surprised to know that again the next project is also related to the biology, which is connection not only to the health science, but in the same time to the domain of all cutting edge research. So what do you mean by cutting edge research? So when I'm calling it cutting edge research, definitely, there are many different areas where you can do very interesting kind of research. So some of the area, because I know that most of the attendees are from engineering background, engineering or technology background. So let me focus on the engineering side. So definitely, if I'll ask you which are the most important domains in the engineering, and of course I'll get the answer from you, just like artificial intelligence, because this is the first word will come to your mind, right? Because you know that the whole world is talking about AI, and AI. And if you are expert in AI, most probably you will get a very big job also. Even in IIT also, here always the student come to us that I wish to work in the domain of AI, because they know that they will get bigger package if they have experience in this domain, right? So not only AI, if I'll talk about other few domains, you will take the name of, let's say, NLP, let's say computer vision, robotics. So all this domain are coming, maybe, okay, more or less, we call this, these are the AI domain, right? Um, so this is the question. Though today we are talking about the AI, but even many years back, maybe one decade back, people also thought that, okay, maybe these are the frontiers of engineering, right? And in the same time, when you talk about healthcare, let's say if I'll ask you, which are the most devastating problem in the health? Definitely, I'll get 90% answer that COVID. But truly, COVID is not devastating kind of problem for the world. Do you know why we are fearful, or why the world is taking it seriously? Because this COVID is some kind of the flu what we every year we used to suffer, right? But this is more powerful than the flu, right? And because there is no
Sir,
medication or
voice is
no,
cracking.
was it cracking? Hello, hello, can you hear me?
It's okay, sir. It's okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay, sir.
So this is our the best IIT of India's network. So what I can do, right? So I'm on IIT network right now, and still I don't know. So okay, but that's why I'm talking, speaking very slowly. Uh, are you able to follow my, or whether I'm fast?
Sir, it's
I'm in,
okay. It's okay.
It's
it's
okay,
okay.
sir. It's okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
Perfect,
So
sir. Perfect, sir. Perfect.
perfect. Very good. So now we should not use
I
the
have
term.
also turned on the captions, so it's fine, sir.
Okay. When I talking about the COVID, so why the COVID is a big problem? Because it's big because all these rich people, they are very fearful. When the rich people are fearful, then they will create the problem as a very big problem. Because all these rich people, they know that also they might be the victim of COVID virus because they cannot see it, right? But if you compare some other problem, like do you know the number of people they used to die due to pollution is more than the death of the COVID? So this is a scary picture, but nobody care about the pollution, but we all care about COVID because, as I mentioned to you, COVID because all these rich people are fearful, or maybe the big politicians are in fear. That's why COVID is a very big problem, right? So definitely everything is coming towards the biology. Okay, so yeah. So when I'm asking you that which are the biggest problem in the healthcare, definitely the most devastating problems are neurodevelopmental disorder. Maybe some of you must be thinking cancer, diabetics, heart disease. Yes, these are problem, but it can be stopped or it can be cured. But until now, there is no understanding or no medicine for any kind of neurodevelopmental problem. And for this problem, many millions of people are suffering with this kind of problem. And there is no medicine. When you go to the hospital, the doctor used to prescribe some medicine, but that medicine is not directly cure that problem. Maybe it will suppress some of the side effect or side problem of that problem, right? That's why, as I mentioned to you, that the two domains, both in engineering and medicine, in engineering, I mentioned to you that computer vision, artificial intelligence, NLP, robotics, these are all sophisticated area. Likewise, in the health, the most devastating area is the neurodevelopmental problem, right? And then the think tank of the whole world, they thought that maybe we need to do something else so that we can take lead in both this category. And do you know which kind of work they selected for this? How they can take lead in both this domain? They selected that most probably we need to work on again one kind of computational biology that's called the brain mapping. That's why when Obama was the president in US, that time in 2012, he announced that the next frontier for the whole world would be brain mapping project. Because if we can map the brain or if we can understand the function of the neuron, then most probably we can take lead in all cutting edge research area in the engineering, artificial intelligence, machine learning, NLP, computer vision, all this stuff. In the same time, this will also help us to understand all this kind of devastating problem what we are suffering with or which have no answer until now. I hope you understood. And that's why the next biggest project was the human brain mapping project, just like the human genome project, likewise the human brain mapping project. And not only the government, many private institute also, I mean, gave lots of money to undertake research to understand all this kind of problem, right? That's why I have divided my talk into two parts, and mostly in the second part I'll take you towards the brain part. Okay. Um, so here my next slide, you can see here I've written that why we need to compute biology. We need to compute biology for many reasons, and the first reason is I can tell you for the mostly the two reasons. If I'll ask you that why we do this computational biology, for two reasons. First is maybe I'll get 100 answer from you, but whatever answer I'll get from you, I can keep or I can make two bins for them. One is called to improve the quality of the life. Whatever we do, let's say whether the vaccine, whether the medicine, or whether to understand our system, these are all for to improve the quality of the life. Even I mentioned to you, even understanding the biology, when we understand the biology and we try to mimic the intelligence of the biology in the machine, that is also to improve the quality of our life. Whether this is a humanoid robot, whether it's a smart car, whether this is smartphone, digital security, everything is required to improve the quality of the life. And the second one is to understand the mystery of this universe. But when I'm talking about to understand the mystery of this universe, before that, I can tell you that to understand the mystery of your own universe means within, your body. you must be, I mean, if you think about your body, that how all this remarkable function is happening in our body, then you'll be surprised to know that actually the mechanism is really interesting. And if we can understand, we can mimic in the machine and make our machine more intelligent, right? Just imagine one of the mysteries, let's say you know that if you look at your finger, the finger are of different size. Just imagine if all the fingers would be same size, what will happen to you? If all the fingers would be, some will grow infinitely, some will not grow, then how it will look like? But the question is, who is deciding? Who is deciding that my finger will grow up to this point, then it will stop, right? So these are all interesting, all mystery. Even we don't know. Even we know that we are born from a single cell, and the single cell form a zygote, and then from the zygote many division happens, and again when this division starts from a single cell, from that cell few cells will be specialized for your brain, few cell will be specialized for your eye, few cell will be specialized for heart. So the question is, who is controlling this thing, or how it's being done? Can you understand this mystery? And only for these two regions we do science and engineering, to understand the mystery of this universe, whether this is outer universe or our own inner universe. And the same time, to improve the quality of the life, we do science and engineering, and where we need to compute the biology. Okay. So before, I mean, talking about my this the high level, I mean, stuff, let me tell you some of the very fundamental things about this computational biology. Let me change my slide a little bit. Um yes. Okay. I hope that you can see a different slide now. Can you see it? I'm audible. I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
visible and you are audible.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so here in my first slide, I'm showing you one picture. Maybe you might be knowing this gentleman. He's Professor Eric Lender, and recently Biden, who is going to be the president of US, he announced that Eric Lender would be the next science advisor to the federal government of USA, right? And Eric Lender, he is basically a mathematician, right? And then uh, he switched over to computational biology, and now he's known as the geneticist. He's the professor of genetics, and he founded a very big lab, I can say. This is called the Broad Institute, and which is, with MIT, USA, and Harvard University, and he is the founder of that institute called the Broad Institute. And the Broad Institute, they do research work on computational, mostly in the computational biology, to understand all this kind of genome sequence, to understand different kind of biological problem. And he is the pioneer of this human genome project. He is one of the key member of the human genome project, and his name is Eric Lender. So now we can think that when the powerful country in this world, they are selecting one geneticist, you could imagine that how important the computational biology is, because they feel that we need to take the lead in biology, then only we can take the lead in many different frontiers, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether in the healthcare or any other domain. That's why they selected this gentleman to lead the science in US, right? So the first question comes to our mind: what do you mean by computational biology? So now whatever slides I'm showing to you, maybe these are taken from some of the web materials. My student had just clapped few slides from somebody else's work. These are not my work, whatever I'm showing you just now. Maybe in the next session, whatever you'll see, mostly those will be from my lab or my work. Okay, so so coming to this computational biology, you know that this is completely a interdisciplinary field. And if I'll remind you, the new education policy proposed by Government of India, or considered by Government of India, they talked about that our education should be one kind of inclusive kind of education, where we need to be good at all of different domains. Let's say earlier, when we are an engineer, we used to think that we need to learn biology. But now if you wish to take lead in any cutting edge research, you have to be interdisciplinary in nature. So let's say you are good in computation, you are good in writing code, but at the same time, if you understand some other domain, you can do wonders, right? And computational biology is such kind of domain. Here, the people who work in this area, they are not only from the biology. You will find many mathematicians, many physicists, many electrical engineers, many computer scientists. They work in this domain, right? That's why here I've written that focuses mathematical models, computational simulation technique, addresses scientific, theoretical, and experimental work, and also edge. I mean, as you know, that it has many applications, not only the gene therapy or drug development, but also beyond this very clinical stuff. That I'll talk later. Okay. So in the same time, also it applies different kind of informatics techniques, like you know that the techniques are borrowed from computer science or IT, and all these techniques are being utilized in this domain to understand the mystery or to understand that how it work, right? That's why you need all different kind of expertise. So here, let me highlight one thing. I don't know how many of you have done statistics course, but my advice would be whether you work in the computer vision, whether you work in the AI, whether you work in the biology, everywhere you need a very good understanding of statistics. And if you are good in statistics, you can do your research in a very good way. And as you also know, without statistical validation, nobody will accept your paper in a very good journal, right? So my advice would be, I know that, I mean, in most of our academic scenario, we don't have very good statistics program, but always please take a statistics course by your own. This would be very helpful in almost all the research area what you are planning to pursue. Okay. So then in the slide, again, what I've told you, that here what we are trying to do, we try to solve the problem, explore, interpret, where we need both accuracy as well as speed, and that help us to predict some kind of problem, predicting mutations and patient classification. You know that many of the times now with the power of this sophisticated computer like high performance computing, we are just trying to predict if somebody is going to have some kind of problem or not. Let's say, you know, that cancer, if somebody is suffering with cancer, this is not the disease, I mean, somebody is suffering with. I mean, today it's being, I mean, started in that body of that person, maybe 10 years back or 20 years back, right? So is there any way? So let's say, I mean, when we know it's a cancer, when this cancer will give some kind of indication or some kind of problem, then when we go to the doctor and doctor diagnose it, then they say, oh, you are in second stage or third stage, right? So the question is, can we find it out beforehand, or can we tell 10 years back, I mean, you are about to have this kind of problem, and then we can take the right kind of precaution, right? And all this detection or prediction, we need speed, in the same time accuracy. Okay, not only speed, we also need good specificity and sensitivity, right? And all these are the important factor for the healthcare, because in the healthcare, speed is important, but on top of that we need the accuracy of detection. Okay, so uh, uh, this is what I have written in the right hand side block diagram. You can see solve means biological, biomedical queries using computer. Explore interprets search strategies. Speed and accuracy, definitely it's related to the algorithm. Predicting mutation, that's referred to the machine learning. And application, these are the software engineering. And I can say these are all hierarchical levels of this computational biology. And you know that these are the benefits. I mean, definitely it will, when you apply the computation, which will improve not only the speed and accuracy, it also improves the statistical power, higher reproducibility, simpler interpretation of complex problem, identifies underlying mechanism, and then objective definition of the cause. That's why this is happening. And always being a scientist or being an engineer, always we strive for the cause. That's why this is happening. If you will not find out the cause, then most probably you cannot give the right kind of solution. So that's why it's very, very important to find out the cause. And computational biology is one of the prime component to finding out the cause, right? Um, so even sometimes what we do, we do experiment in different ways. If we have our subject, if we have our cell culture laboratories, we can do in one way that kind of research. Another way, let's say if we don't have the sophisticated laboratory, right? But we have lots of biological database. Okay, so when you have a biological database, so maybe let's say I'm from a very small college where I don't have the infrastructure of doing this experiment, because all this kind of biological experiment that requires huge investment, because these are all sensitive experiment. It will not happen just if you'll buy a computer or if you'll buy 1 or 2 lakhs. Hello, somebody is asking something. Somebody is asking something. I can hear from the background. Hello. No question.
Sir, no question, no question.
Then who is speaking? So if you have no question, you should not, discuss when your mic is on. Okay. Okay. So here what I was telling, that when somebody has no facility, because that's you require huge amount of investment in crores. So for that, the scientists around the world, they also created some kind of biological database where the data are available, but you can get those data. And if you have a computer just sitting in your place, you can do all this kind of computation. Okay. And from this data, you have to write the algorithm, and then you can analyze and do the analysis of the clinical data. So always please remember, in the healthcare, we talk about 5 kind of approach, 4 or 5. Okay, let's count. First thing is, one is prevention. Prevention, that if we can, that prevention is always better than cure. That means if we can prevent, then we don't need to think about the cure, right? So prevention is always must. And now, from your all clinical records or in healthcare records, we can predict that if you are going to have some kind of problem, right? Just using this power of the machine learning, we can do this. This is called the prevention. Second is called the diagnostic. Diagnostic means if you are suffering with some kind of, can we diagnose this? This definitely it would be a very big advantage for everybody. Let me talk about, that when you do diagnosis, we do in different way. We take the blood samples, we take the urine samples, and this is, on the micro level. We can also get some kind of information like from the signal or images, and we do the analysis, right? And we do, when I talk about computational biology, it does not mean that it is only related to the cell or cell culture or something like that, but more than also, whatever we do imaging, brain imaging, or if you are taking some kind of signal like ECG, EMG, these are all coming under the domain of computational biology, right? And from this kind of information, from this kind of data, when we apply some kind of algorithm and we find out that what's the problem, or that help us to diagnose. Okay, so this is also another domain of this healthcare domain. So basically, that in India, we have, 1 in 1 lakh population, right? And definitely, when nowadays everything is very, everybody wants to diagnose properly. So if one doctor will diagnose this problem, it might take more than 2 to 3 hours, right? And which is very difficult for a doctor to give 2 to 3 hours for it. So the question comes, can we come up with some computational technique which will help the doctor to ease their job, or to tell them, you need not to look at all this data, you just go to this slice and see this is the problem there. And then the doctor can go there and see, right? And this will not only help the doctor to manage his time efficiently, but also it will give the good accuracy in detection, right? So that's why this is the second, detection or diagnosis. Third is we call prognosis. Prognosis means, let's say if some problem is diagnosed by doctor, and the doctor will give some medicine, and based on this medicine, what is the impact of the medicine of that on that problem? That means how long it will take to get cure, or whether this medicine is effective at all. So all this question you can come through this some kind of prognosis or outcome model, right? This is another area of research. Then fourth is we call the assistive technology or rehabilitation. Assistive technology means there are many problems where we don't have the answer, and when we don't have the answer for this problem, can we come up with some kind of engineering techniques by which we can assist somebody to live their life independently? So when I'm talking assistive technology, it does not mean that the technology will support 100% or it will help the person in 100% way. The way which they are not able to do it. But assistive technology means it might help 10%, it might help. So it depends the kind of problem the person is suffering with. That's why here when I'm writing analysis of clinical data, that means we have prognosis, treatment, diagnosis, optimization, right? So also we do the molecular evolution, just like gene family, tissue specificity, gene regulatory regions. These are all these things in the molecular biology. And if about that whatever some hello, can you please? Yeah. So in the computational biology, another very big area is called the analyzing or analysis of protein structure. You know all the diseases, what is happening to us. Mostly these are due to the protein structure. When the protein changes its structure, or when there is, this mutant, we call the mutant. When the mutation happens, the protein changes the structure, and due to that, we have this kind of problem. So many scientists or research group they try to analyze this protein structure, and then they tell about different kind of problem, right? Uh, and also we do analysis of sequence data so that to find out the gene features and alternative transcripts for this kind of problem. So all this kind of work you can do under the domain of computational biology. So that's why I've listed here. You can find out the dynamical interaction, function, structure of biocomponents such as proteins, design of artificial components and intelligent system. You can also understand the sequence of DNA, amino acids. You can do the quantitative predictions of the inferences of alternation of the cellular scale for the entire organ, non-intuitive insights to know system or process working. Also, you can do the biomarker discovery. You can also do predicting scenarios such as bioreceptor reflex mechanism that reacts in the case of surgical replacement of aortic valve. You can also do the simulation kind of thing for the different kind of clinical trials. And in the same time, just doing this, also you can meet different kind of social challenges, which we call data sharing, bioethics, and all the social challenges will come on your way, but which you can solve by this computational biology way or these two important problems. If you'll see all this, thing in a pictorial representation, as you already I told you, the computational biology is nothing but to develop. We call this. In the computational domain, develop algorithm and statistical model to understand. But at the same time, just using this, you can apply in the biology, all domain all come together, and then finally we see this problem in a very holistic and definitely until now, as I told you, this biology is the most important aspect of our life, and without biology, we cannot live in a healthy condition, right? So biology is must because our body is the biology. We are not well, or if we are not in a good condition, so whole world would be one kind of does not make any sense, right? So there are many advancement happens in the domain of computational biology, but still we are still away from many different things. Just like that now we are suffering with COVID. Even the think tank or the visionaries they are predicting that much more bigger or dangerous virus is still waiting for us, and which would be more powerful than COVID. So just using this computational model, can we predict where that kind of virus will again emerge, or can we tell whether there is some truth behind it or not? So can we model based on our previous knowledge, past experience and the present scenario? Can we come up with some kind of modeling which will help us in predicting or to help us to lead a healthy life? So all these problems are still there. We need to take a lead, and that's why now you must be seeing that in the pharma domain. Though you know that in almost all domains the job is happening, but in the pharma domain it's the other way, because everybody realize that health is wealth, and we need to look at our health in a very big way, right? Um, Coming to this slide here again, whatever I mentioned to you that as I told you that though we do computational biology in different way, let's say if you are a biologist, you can look at this problem from the cellular point of view. If you are a computer engineer or electrical engineer or IT person, then you can see this problem from the information processing point of view. And some people also see as a system point of view, system biology. So mostly I'll take my talk towards the information processing point of view. That means even we analyze the biological data from the information point of view, means we only get the data, and on the data we apply different kind of computational technique to find out the answer, right? That's why in the first left side I've written modeling network. Okay, so these are all the machine learning model, and also we apply different kind of graph theory approach to find out the pattern, how the patterns in emerging out of it, right? Also, we do inferring network from experimental data, and also people who do in the molecular side, they do on the structuring, regulatory, and all this. All this thing. As you know that if you go to any industry, those who are working in this area or the academia, you will find everybody are interested to apply the AI in computational biology. So now AI is everywhere. AI is nothing but, again, this is what we are making, that we are making some kind of applications on a particular data set to give some kind of inferences in short time and with accuracy. Okay. So there are different packages available to pursue different kind of computational biology work. If you are working the cellular domain, and one thing I can tell, though these are the different packages you can see on my screen, but these are not limited to. If you are good in writing your own code, you can do everything, right? Even if you only know MATLAB or Python, still you can do many computational biology kind of work. You don't need any special kind of package. uh, so then, as I mentioned to you, that my talk I'll take towards the information processing point of view. As I mentioned to you that I work on the body signal or body images, right? Now, so which is also, you cannot say that these are two different things, this molecular point of view and this other, information point of view. Let's say in the molecular level, whatever is happening, they translate to, or that will impact your behavior, and from your behavioral measure we can also tell about the problem, right? So all these diseases or the problem have manifestation in different angles. So as I mentioned, as I told you, that though the molecular level is one angle, the information processing point is another angle. Okay. So and all this information, how we get? Maybe we get through this different kind of signal acquisition technique like ECG, EEG, EMG, PCG, all this kind of techniques. And also in the same time, we also image the body, whether the X-rays, CT scan, MRI, ultrasound. Getting all this data, we apply the computational technique. And you know that why you apply computational technique, because let's say if I'll talk about EEG, brain signal, and mostly, let's say if I'll place more than 100 electrodes on the surface of my brain, I'll get 100 channel signal. And if will record 24 hours brain signal, it would be a huge amount of data. Huge means really huge. So just imagine if you will give this data to a doctor to identify some kind of problem. So do you think the doctor will be able to do properly? No. Why? Because to look at 24 hours recording of signal from 100, more than 100 sensor, it will take more than even 7 days, I can say. And here, that's why, okay, let me bring here why computational biology is important, because you know that the difference between human mind and computer is, computer, they don't get tired, whereas we humans, we get tired very easily, right? So that's why when we'll get tired, we are forced to make some kind of error, right? But as computer, they don't get tired. They will do the analysis based on our knowledge, and what they can do, you need not to look at the whole signal, only the whatever the computer will tell you, please go to this position and look at the signal and give your final judgment. The doctor can go to that person and see whether there is some kind of problem is there or not, right? And in this way, you can, you can help not only, the doctor, but also in many different ways. You can help, being a computational biologist or computational guy, you can help in different varieties of way for speedy and accurate diagnosis. Okay. So these are all this kind of, that all electrical magnetic signal. So mostly in the body, human body, we measure. Again, I'm telling you, I'm just now talking about from the information processing point of view. Information means whatever the signal and images we get without entering to the body. This is what I'm talking about right now. And our body has electric field, and also that where there is electric field, there is magnetic field. So either we measure the magnetic field or electric field, they will get the similar kind of information about your body. And depending on the type of signal, E for electrical, M for magnetical, right? And we record all this kind of signal, and people see the pros and cons of this two kind of signal. Magnetic signal is always better than electrical signal because of many reasons. Electrical signal, we need to collect the signal just touching the electrode on the surface. But for the magnetic signal, you need not to touch to the surface. It can record the change of flux of that certain area or the affected area, one kind of in air, right? But in electrical method, we have to always attach the electrode on the surface. That's why it's more prone to get more noises, Whereas magnetic system, the noise is very less. The SNR is really very good compared to the electrical signal. But from both this kind of thing, you will get the similar kind of information. Okay. Also, in the same time, we have different kind of mechanical signal as well as acoustic signal. Mechanical signals like blood pressure, right? Also accelerometer signal, chest movement, also the airflow, and all these are called the mechanical signal. And the another is snoring, swallowing, respiratory sound, crackles of joints and muscle, and all this signal can be recorded just using some kind of sensor, whether the sensor is attached to the person's body or you are keeping some kind of sensors, like let's say even nowadays people are monitoring different kind of health status, even not touching the person, just taking the camera image, just taking the video of that person, they can tell what is the heartbeat of this person, right? So this is up to you how you, and it depends on your expertise and your knowledge in that particular domain, right? And always when you do this kind of computational biology, the first and foremost thing which you need to remember, that always try to focus on to get the good quality data. If your data quality is not good, whatever you will do, you cannot give justice to your work. So the most important step is first develop the experiment in a very closed loop fashion. So please remember, I'm talking about the closed loop fashion, not open loop. Open loop and closed loop is when we have many variables, many input variables. So it would be very difficult to model your system. But when you have few variables, you can easily model it. This is what I'm talking about, open loop and closed loop. So always when we try to design our experiment or when we are collecting the data, we always try to minimize the number of open loops so that the quality of the data would be always great. And if the quality of the data is good, your results would be, you will get the real right kind of results, and which can be useful for many different kind of research. But if your data are noisy, if your experimental paradigm is not correct, then nothing will make sense to your work, right? Okay, so already you must be knowing of different kind of signal of physiological signal. We call the physiological signal, right? So here in this computational biology, when I talked about, when I just took the name of brain, because I told you that after the Human Genome Project, the brain mapping project is the next frontier, right? And not only the brain, even you also know that though we have different kind of signal, heart signal, some other signal, but everything is controlled by the brain. So even when we measure the brain about different brain function, we measure in two different way. One is called the direct way, another is called means if I'm recording the signal from the and indirect way means if I record the signal not directly from our sensory system but from the like. Let me give one example. You must have heard about lie detection, right? Lie detection means, we always, the investigating agency, they try to find it out whether the person is lying or the person is not lying. So what they do, they collect different kind of. So one of the GSR, galvanic skin response, right? So let's say you are trying to hide something. Hide something means you don't like to. Let's say somebody is murder somebody, and maybe that person will tell that no, I have not done this or I have not committed. But from the body signal, you will be able to know that whether he has done it or not. So this is called the indirect measurement of the neural responses. Okay, and again, when you will get this data, you have to apply your computational techniques to find out the pattern out of it. Okay. And also, that all these biosignals, what we get, these are all very complicated signal. And from this signal, this is your, if you will give this signal to any doctor, many times they misdiagnose this, right? So I'm just sharing one very interesting thing with you. So once I was delivering a talk in AIMS Rishikesh. So in my life also, that was my first, first kind of experience where I was the only engineer and all the audience are doctor, right? So you must be thinking that how difficult it must be for an engineer. So when you are delivering a talk in front of all doctors and in addition to that, in the healthcare, so it looks very funny, right? So the first question what I asked them, that how many of you can read, let's say, brain signal? Then initially, many of them were hesitant to show their hand. But then when I encouraged them that please be truthful, please tell, how many of you can read the brain signal? Because you all are doctor and I know that many of you are also neurologist. Then I could see many hands. Okay, we can read from the brain signal. Then I said, oh, that's great. That and then I asked that by your open eye you can read it. Yes, we can do it very easily, right? Then the next instant, what I did, I just presented them one sinusoidal wave. Let's say one sinusoidal wave of 30 hertz. Then I asked them, can you tell me about this wave? Because brain signal looks very complicated, but let me show you some simple wave. So that's why I presented some kind of sinusoidal wave, right? Then they said, oh, it looks a sinusoidal wave. Then I said, yes. On top of that, also I'm adding this. This is a 30 hertz sinusoidal wave. Then said, yes. Then next, again, I presented another wave of 50 hertz. Again, the sinusoidal wave, right? Then they said, oh, this is also looks like a sinusoidal wave and the frequency is 50 hertz. Then I said, yes, very good. Then I presented another wave of, let's say, 90 hertz. Okay. Then what I did, I just mixed this all three waves, this 90 hertz, 50 hertz and 30 hertz. And I presented the wave, which looks, that when you mix three sinusoidal wave, how it looks like, right? And when I presented this wave to them, I asked them, can you tell what you can see in this wave? They said, no, we cannot tell. Then I said, then how come you think that when brain produce different frequency bands and when we finally see the signal, how come you can diagnose this problem? And then they're completely clueless, right? Then I just came to the point that because of this thing, because signal is itself is a very complicated, complex process, you cannot diagnose everything just looking by. And finally, they also, I mean, got convinced. And okay, I'm not discussing many other things, but at the end, the professor, the head of physiology who invited me, she told me that the first time in our life, some engineers came to our institute and in on our land proved us that we are wrong. And truly, I was very happy that at least they they accepted all my whatever I explained to them. So here, what I wanted to tell you that there are many information which always lies in the signal or images, but definitely you know that those who are good in signal processing, you know how it's difficult to find out the information. And always this is what we do in the signal processing or data mining or machine learning. We try to extract as much as information is possible from the signal. And if we can do this, then definitely it would be a very big boon for the doctors, because the doctors, they are not signal processing experts, they don't know how to do it, but it is your job to provide this kind of computational tool by which they can diagnose some kind of problem. Okay. Okay, so already whatever I've written, I just discussed everything with you. You know that we have all this different kind of system, endocrine system, nervous system, cardiovascular system, vision system, and all the systems are all intelligent system. And if there is any disturbance, the harmony in any of the system, that leads to different kind of problem in our body, and which we need to understand properly. And we can understand, as I mentioned to you, we can understand different way. We can analyze this biological data, or we can get different kind of signal to analyze, or what we can do, we can create the mathematical model of different organs, and then we can simulate it. Through the simulation also, we can find out many kind of information, right? So I'm not discussing. Okay, so you all know all this thing in the information processing point of view. So this is what I have written, that in the biological level. So in many experimental paradigm, what we do, we took one bidirectional approach to answer any problem. One is the molecular level approach, and the second one is the information processing point of view approach. So in here in this picture, I'm showing you from the biological data, you can find out the molecular structure, you can find out the biochemical function and symptom, which we call the clinical correlates or clinical findings. Then what we do, from our physiological database or our signal or whatever computational techniques we do, we find out some kind of features and results. Then we club together to finally tell that what kind of problem this person is suffering, and then accordingly the doctor prescribe the medicine. And this is a very one of the most important approach to handle this biological problem. And now you know that we are applying this deep learning to predict many different kind of things. So you can if you'll in system biology or computational biology, if you search, you will get many papers where people are using computational technique, different kind of sophisticated computational technique to understand the problem, right? And definitely, all this, whatever we do in the biology, these are all based on ethics. So whatever research you are planning to do or do in this area, always please don't forget to take the ethical approval. If your ethical approval is not there, nobody will trust your, nobody will approve your study. I mean, nobody will accept your study. So please take those approval, and definitely it's always good. There are some online courses you have to pass, that when you are going to do some kind of biological research, anything, even whether you collect the biological data or you take this kind of signal that I explained to you. But for all this thing, you need to understand all the biological ethics. And there are many online exams segment, and you can give those exams, and you can learn many things how to handle all this kind of data. And definitely all this work, what I mentioned to you or I highlighted to you, it is all many application and benefits to the human society or the human race, right? Not only it will help us to find out the biomarker for different kind of problems, but also it will help us. That means this computational biology will help us to find out the causality, to find out the causes of some kind of problem, and that will help us to take the right kind of actions on it. And in that way, we can make our life beautiful, and we can create a harmonious, I mean, the life full with harmony. Thank you very much for your attention for this introduction to the computational biology. And then in my next session, I'll start from other things. Most probably some of the work which is happening in my lab. I hope this is fine in this session. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Am I audible? I told that let's stop here.
Yes, sir. Your voice is audible and everything is fine.
So maybe we can start the next session by 11. So actually, okay, I just try to wrap up this two session early because I have another meeting in with the Minister of Science and Technology from 12. So for that I have to also get ready. So that's why I want to finish this two session before by 12. So you can take a break of 15 minutes and then from 12 we can, sorry, 11 we can start.
Yes, sir. We can take a break and then we can start after 15 minutes at around
Yes.
10:55.
Yes. 10:55. Yes, we can start.
Definitely, sir. Okay.
Okay. So
Sir, I have a
anybody,
question.
so
Sir, I have a
nobody.
question.
Yes, please.
Sir, as you said, I want to know what is the proper meaning will be closed loop and open loop, and one more question, ethical approval you said.
What you said? One is closed loop, open loop, and another is
Ethical approval, sir, for data collection biology.
Yes, ethical. Okay, let me first talk about the ethical one. So ethical means in the research, you know that always, I mean, when you are working on anybody's data, whatever, I mean, even if you are taking from the web or even you are planning to collect from the human being, before that, actually all institute nowadays, I mean, even in our IIT Delhi also, we have our ethical board. We have to present that what kind of research I'm going to do related to the biology. And then the ethical board consists of a lawyer, some medical professional, some engineers, some scientists, some sociologists. So it consists of member of 10 to 12 members, and they will approve that yes, your research is approved. Now you can take forward your research, because you must be knowing that when you submit your paper to any big journal, they will first ask that do you have any ethical approval, and without that, no big journal will accept your paper. So this is must. So actually, I know that in many institutes, this ethical board is not there, but I urge everybody that if it's not there, please in your institute create an ethical committee of all this member, because now, as I mentioned to you, computational biology is one of the very big domain, and I forget the name of the person who got the Nobel Prize in one kind of Nobel Prize in engineering domain just a couple of years back. He mentioned that I can see only one domain which will last for next 500 years, the domain of computational biology. So you must know that the importance of computational biology, and also for that, in order to work in this area, please create one ethical committee or board in your own institute. So this is first question. Second question is related to the open loop and closed loop. When I'm telling open loop, let's say I'm just giving a very small example. I'm just going to collect the some brain signal, right? Let me give another example, then that way you can understand better. So I just once I visited one lab in defense, a DRDO lab, those who work on this kind of physiological signal. So the director of that institute invited me to have a visit. And when I entered, what they're doing, they are recording some brain signal, and they want to, I mean, they do some kind of sleep analysis. And what happened? That room is completely open. People are talking here and there. There are many electrical mess, right? And when I entered, I said, "What you are doing now? We are recording brain signal." Then I said, "In this condition?" They say, "Yes." Then I said, "You will get nothing from the signal." Then he asked, "Why?" Then I asked, "For many reasons. First thing, your environment is not controlled. First of all, you know that the brain signal is very tiny in nature, in microvolt range. And in order to capture this microvolt, and around you, you have different volt range signals there, electrical, I mean, okay, around you 230 or 250 or whatever, the volt is around you, or you have many kind of mobile device, they have also some kind of signal, and always our noise is always more than our actual signal. So when this noise will override your signal, do you think that you can extract the information? So for this kind of thing, you need to have the closed chamber, which is electromagnetical shielded one kind of, or maybe when you are recording this brain signal, your mobile devices should be removed from this area, or you should not have all this kind of wiring. I just mentioned to them, and also I presented them how good signal look like and how their signal look like and what is the difference. So these are one kind of open loop system. That means they have not closed all this thing, because your job is to get the good quality signal, and if you will not take care of all this thing, definitely you are not going to get good quality signal. So this is the meaning of open loop and closed loop. This is what I mentioned to you.